everybody, and today we are going to continue to cover territory battles and what that means and some updates and other things that have come from the event. Now, we have finished Phase 3 and Phase 4. Tomorrow we will be entering Phase 5, and I want to cover some things that we are going to be seeing in Phase 5. Also, I will be showing you some gameplay footage from Phase 4. Now in Phase 3, we did get our first ship territory battle, which was kind of neat. I've been using my Akbar lead. He is only 5 stars. For the life of me, I cannot get him to 7-star. It is one of those things where I really like the Rebels. I just haven't been putting much effort, or any effort really, into the building up my ships that are light side ships. I have a handful of them. I have 5 ship, and then I have Biggs and Wedge. I have those maxed out and completed. And I'm working on getting Resistance Pilot or Resistance Trooper up, and obviously I have Ahsoka because her ship's pretty good. But there's still probably 5 or 6 ships that are on the light side that I still don't have, and while they're beneficial, while they're good, especially for this event, I just don't really care for it. Now, one of the cool things that we see that's awesome with this is we now have over here in the left-hand corner, if you're playing, you know, phase by phase, is this little button, and it's right above the Ahsoka, or it's right above the pilot picture. That is the button that can be pressed. It is a ground attack from the ion cannons, and it's really cool because it kind of does some devastation. I don't remember using it because, to be honest, when I played this event, I wasn't really paying attention. Now, if your ships are great, or if your ships are 7-star or higher in level 85, then you may not need the ion cannon. But it's still not a bad tool to have, and it's definitely beneficial if you start to feel the pain. Now, I didn't use my reinforcement ships in this encounter at all throughout the whole thing. I was worried a little bit in the beginning that I wouldn't be able to do this without having reinforcements, but it would have actually been better for me had I just not used those 3 as backups, so the 3 ships that I have as backups. If I just deployed them with the rest of the crew earlier on. I didn't, and you know, I don't know how that will affect my overall pointage. I still think I get points for having them as backups, but I don't use them. As you can see here, I earned 478,000 territory points just from finishing all 3 phases. Now, as I've said before in other videos, ships are going to become an increasingly more important part of this game. Now, one of the major problems with ships right now, and I know that it's probably just a business model, but not all of the ships that we need are farmable. Even some of them, the whales don't have some of these ships, like Kylo Ren's ship, the Millennium Falcon. They just don't exist. I mean, they exist in the game, but they're just so hard to get that so many people are going to miss out on points in the platoon battles because they don't have the ships that they need. Now, whether they change that based on player feedback, whether they make some of these ships more and more accessible, we'll have to see. I'd love to be able to play the Millennium Falcon, but, you know, right now we just don't have that. Moving on to the combat missions in the event here, I'm using this team setup with an Akbar lead. I have God Luke, or CLS as he's known, regular Leia, Ezra, and our Hoth Trooper. And one of the reasons that I like this combination is something that was told to me by, I believe Cubs fan Han pointed it out to me. I'm sure there have been other video or YouTubers that have been promoting this, but with Ezra and Leia as a lead, Ezra and Leia can do some serious DPS with just their abilities. Ezra attacks twice with his second ability, and Leia, you know, she attacks 3 times. With the opportunity, or with this setup, anytime when Ezra uses her or picks her as the person that he is going to have assist, they get 5 attacks in a row. And since this is a special ability, someone else is likely to attack as well, or will attack as well under an Akbar lead. This is a really damaging DPS team. Now, my Ezra, I just got him up to, I believe, gear level 10. He's level 85. He's a really solid character. I like this lead. I like this setup. I don't think I'll ever run it in Arena, although I know a lot of people are using some deviation of this. It's definitely not a top 20 team, I don't think, but I think it is a very solid team. Now, it's effective in this situation. My Hoth troopers, or my Hoth brothers, they're still really low level, and so you'll see as I progress through this, I do have it on auto. I do guide a little bit of the play. I choose who I want to take out, simply because I don't like these droids. They go in and they just blow up, and I don't care for that. And so it's definitely a guided auto. It's not a solo auto. And you'll see at the end of this battle, it's not something that I actually succeed at. I actually get to the last two characters at the end of this battle and actually die. So I think I played it wrong. I'm sure I played it wrong, and you guys can point out in the comments below how I did this ineffectually. Now, my CLS, or God Luke, does have a Zeta on him. He is gear level 11, and I am 2 pieces away from gear level 12. Now, because those pieces are specific to raids, I probably won't get them anytime soon. They are the ones at the bottom right and middle left, but they're really solid pieces. They're really gonna make him that much better. Really excited. Now you see that Leia went down. We're gonna see a few others drop here pretty quickly too. If I would have left this on a auto without my intervening, without player misuse, I'm curious to know whether or not I would have actually been successful here. But I was not, and I actually didn't get all the points that I could have. But this just goes to show you, CLS is a very powerful character. He's the last character here. When he gets stunned, that's really what kills him. My CLS's tenacity is not great, and so that's actually what stops it here. So he comes back, he does some devastation, he does some damage, but right here he is going to get frozen, or he is going to get stunned, and that's going to be the end of him, just like that. So now, with the second combat mission in this middle territory here, I'm going to be using my resistance team. I have Finn, Rey, and R2 at level 10. The other two characters that I'm using here, Poe and the other one, the pilot, are not level 10. Both of them, I believe, are level 9 or level 8 even. So I still have some work to do with this group. I Zated Finn because I like the concept of it. I still really struggle with using him properly, or using this team properly. But they are very solid, and they are very good. So for those of you who run a resistance team, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. They're very, very well to do if built right. Now, as you know, I'm throwing a lot of expose on these characters. Every time I hit someone with expose and I remove that, my whole crew gets turn meter, and I think a chance to remove or to reduce the amount of time it takes to use an ability, to reset the ability, which is pretty nice. Again, this is a auto battle. I just put this on auto. This one I try not to mess with as much because of what had happened in the last event, but I still kind of tweaked it a little bit. So, but what's interesting is in this event, I actually made a pretty big mistake. What I forgot to do was actually check in with my guild and see where my troops were needed most. Now, combat missions really don't do a ton of... I mean, I need to do them, everyone needs to do them, but I didn't deploy my troops as effectively as I probably could have. Now, if I would have been able to just deploy my troops in a certain area and maybe not have attempted a combat mission, I would have been able to increase the deployment rate that I would have been able to put in another area. Now, that would have only helped a little bit, and who's to say that would have helped the most? But the most important thing about these territory battles is communicating with the guild, right? Make sure that you are right there with them. Now again, back to the Resistance team. As you see, I've lost Rey. She's not my strongest character. Now, again, the mods I have on these tunes aren't the best, but as you can see, I do make it all the way through, and I am able to win out. And while I did lose 2 of my strongest characters, I'm still able to beat the round and get all 6 of the phases done and in the bag. So that's at least a win for me. 423,000 territory points for this event. Now the final battle that I will be playing is the combat mission in the bottom phase, and I'm going to be using my Rogue One team. Now again, this is another team that I've kind of built out, and I kind of have some work done to them. Jin is level 9, Cassian is level 10, almost level 11. K2SO is level 9. Baze and Chase, or Baze and Chirrut, are both, I think, hovering around 8 and 9. So they're not the greatest of group, but they're a very solid team. They do have some really, really strong survivability, as you can see. I really just like this, and this is one of those that I put on auto and I just forgot that it was going. I put it on auto and fell back asleep a little bit. Tried to keep my eyes opened, and I did for a little bit and was able to, towards the end, I think I woke back up. But this is definitely one of those teams that a lot of players are enjoying. I love them. I've been farming Chase for the last couple of months, and it's a lot easier now that you can farm him 5 different times instead of just 3. But even still, he is a very, very long grind, and getting his gear up is also difficult. So, but he's definitely worth the investment. If you haven't started on him yet, then maybe it might be one of those things that you can find someone else, but he is still topping or still showing up in the meta report. So definitely pay attention to him if you don't have him yet. And I think, again, he's definitely one of those characters that you're going to want eventually. So I really like him. But on a side note, I'm really interested. One of the things that I mentioned earlier in this video is the fact that there's a lot of ships that aren't farmable. And what bothers me about that in that area is the first area that you get, right? I guess it's the second platoon battle that you are fighting in, or that you go up against. So in phase 4, I believe, for today's phase, you had to have the Millennium Falcon. But farming the Millennium Falcon is not possible. The same thing with Kylo Ren's ship. Yeah, you can get him up as a pilot, and that's great, but you can't farm him. Now, while I understand in later territory battles, especially in phases 4, 5, and 6, later on, especially with those characters that are more difficult to farm, it's a little frustrating. In this territory battle, in this phase, we have an event where you have to have a 5-star Paplu, which is, I mean, unless you're a whale, you're not going to have that. And since so many people don't like the Ewoks, this is going to be one of those things, those causes of contention. But with that, I think what that indicates to me as a player, as a fan, and as someone who thinks way more than they probably should about this game, is that Paplu is probably going to be one of those characters that's going to be farmable. I think once they actually release the tunes into the wild, I think we're going to see a lot of characters, a lot of those in farmable locations. So hopefully that's where we're going with that. That's what we see with that. Whether we do or not, I don't necessarily know. But I'm hoping you guys are enjoying territory battles as much as I am. I hope you haven't spent too much money as I have. I hope that you are enjoying the camaraderie, the group with your coworkers or your cohorts and your teammates, your guildmates. But leave a comment in the section below, like the video, share it if you feel like it was beneficial. This has been Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and as always, my friends, stay nerdy.